those that are still fighting, and that's just the best way to honor them, just to be a good American.
And Debbie Collins, please, how do you feel that we can best support your efforts?
Well, much like, I mean, I would just echo everything that Debbie Austin just said, but also, as I said this morning at the Gold Star ceremony, the worst thing in the world for us is that our sons and daughters be forgotten because they're no longer with us. So the greatest honor you can give is to acknowledge our children, who are lost to us. Talk about them. What my husband and I say all the time, let's just keep Cale in the conversation. We'll always keep him in the conversation. We want everybody to know who he was, and we love to hear stories about him. He was quite a character. He was kind of the comic relief in our family. And, we love to hear stories about him from his friends, former friends, family members. So really the best thing that you can do is talk about our children or ask us about them. And a lot of times people are hesitant to, say their name and bring it up because they think it's going to be hurtful for us. But the opposite is true. We want to talk about our kids, and we want people to remember them.
Well, yeah. We just, indeed, we thank them. And again, we certainly thank you. Debbie Austin, you were saying.
Yeah, she's right. They say you die twice, and that's the time you take your last breath, and then the last time your name is mentioned. And I too talked about Shane as though he's still here. And she's right. I think people avoid you when it first happens because they're afraid. They don't know what to say, and they're afraid they're going to upset you, but that's not the case. We say their names.
Please forgive me for taking liberties with your expression. I would just suggest that, as you say, to say his name, I would suggest to you that he in fact is still with us because of you. And my prayer is because of our remembering. Debbie Austin and Debbie Collins, allow me please to do this. I am going to ask Louis George Walker to inform all of those who are with us how they can access KUAW.org. And I am certain that many would like to see what we are doing here today again. So Louis George Walker, if you would, just inform us once again, and then I want to come back to Debbie Austin and Debbie Collins. Yes. Thank you so very, very much, founder of KUAW.org. And for those who have not been with us before, KUAW stands for Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. KUAW.org. Thank you. And Brother Louis George Walker, keeping in mind that always you can jump in if you have a question and or comment for our very special guests. When we go back to Debbie Austin on location, Debbie Austin, I do not want to diminish the significance of our being your guests on location. That is so fantastic. And Brother Louis George Walker, I'm not sure that we've had this privilege, this honor before, but
I'm glad. I wasn't sure if they came through, so I'm glad. And it is, would like to note that this is the only Woody Williams Gold Star monument in the state of Kansas at this time. So,
wow.
Yeah, so we feel very honored to be a part of it and to have been able to bring it in. Now, there was a new Gold Star monument dedicated at the state capitol in Topeka yesterday too.
Now, let me say to Debbie Collins, not having been with us before, that we have the name Waive Your Grades for this program because we feel that American students should absolutely indeed say thank you to those who are serving, to those who have served. But we ask that they go beyond waving the flag, which is absolutely important. But we ask them in their schools, and we have occasions where we ask veterans to visit schools with us, that they waive their grades, they waive their achievements, they waive their community service, they waive their leadership, they waive their improvement, that they will recite in front of those who serve. Because of your sacrifice to defend our nation, I am serious about education. And so it is. That's what this program is about. That's why it's important that I offer the disclaimer that I am a civilian, because I respect too highly those who have served and are serving. And so that's what we are about. And on this particular question, you might alternate back and forth. Debbie Austin, Debbie Collins, Gold Star Mothers. What are some of your annual activities?
Well, one big one that we're working on now is Wreaths Across America, where we lay a wreath on our loved ones' graves. And that's remember, honor, and teach. By teach, and that's why I say teach, because I know how important this is, and this is your life dedication, is we teach, we have our students and our young generation go in, lay a wreath, take a step back, take a photo, say their name, and go home and Google them, learn about them, share the information you've learned about that. That's another way to remember and keep their legacy alive. But this, we are gearing up for December 17th to lay a wreath at Fort Leavenworth and Leavenworth.
Yes, that is so wonderful. Debbie Collins, any activities you want to point out for us?
Well, those of us who live here in Johnson County, most of our boys or sons or daughters are buried in either Leavenworth, Fort Leavenworth Cemetery or Leavenworth National Cemetery. So we have a lot of affiliation with Fort Leavenworth. So there are many activities at the fort that we do this time of year, especially. There's a big Oktoberfest coming up next week where we do a lantern launch. We decorate lanterns that, with pictures of our sons and daughters, and then we release them onto a small lake out there, and just kind of in remembrance of our kids that passed away in the line of service. And just, throughout the year, there are get-togethers and things. I've not been able to be terribly active because I've been working up until about this time last year, but I'm hoping to get more involved with the Gold Star Mothers organization now that I have a little bit of free time on my hands.
Outstanding. Debbie Austin, was there anything in particular you wanted to show us where you are now?
Well, I'm just not sure how well it shows up on the monument. And I walked back over here. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm trying to stay out of the traffic noise. But Debbie did such a wonderful job speaking today, but the traffic was so loud. So I was like, I'm trying to stay away.
But
hear me okay?
I heard you. As a matter of fact, there was a mild breaking up for a moment, and now you're back with us.
Well, I'm going to show you a battlefield cross of a Matthew Murchison. His mom, believe it or not, guess her name, is also named Debbie. Debbie Murchison is a dear friend of both of ours. And this is his battlefield cross. I don't know if you can see it.
We are.
And that's just another way to honor. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you now. Please continue.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know if you got to see the photo of the battlefield cross, but she was also here today, and that's just the battlefield cross is just another way to honor our loved ones. And I would like to say another event that is done, with another dear Gold Star friend of ours, the Make It Count run that's at the Gardner National Century Airport. That happens in August. He was part of the Chinook helicopter. And they do they put on a fabulous and very powerful 5K to honor those that were in the Chinook helicopter.
Now, this is so important. And please let those who are with us know how they can get in touch in case they want to join, celebrate, support. What is contact information?
You can Google makeitcount.org. It's in Spencer Duncan, in honor of Spencer Duncan, the Spencer Duncan Make It Count run. It's unbelievable. It started out with, probably just about 100 to 200 runners, and now there's up to 1,000 that show up in honor of that. So Make It Count, Spencer Duncan Make It Count Foundation.
The impact and credibility of Gold Star mothers has been so profound that many would like to find out, in as much as you mentioned President Obama and the designation of Gold Star families, whether or not you have male members of the organization.
The organization itself is just Gold Star Mothers,
yes.
American Gold Star Mothers, but the fathers can join as an associate member, or, like our other family members can join as an associate member, and they are always included in any event that we do. The only thing that basically they can't do is when we have our convention and we sit through the meeting and we have votes. So that's something that they probably don't want to sit through anyway.
And I'm sorry. Go ahead, Debbie Collins.
Oh, no, I was just laughing. I had nothing to add.
I was going to say.
But they're invited to do anything that we do. So, and that would be AmericanGoldStarMothers.org also.
And as a matter of fact, it sounds similar to my having the privilege of being with the VFW Auxiliary when I am not a member of the VFW.
Right.
It's,
right. Yep.
Kind of similar there. Now, this is something that is extremely important to me and to many Americans on September 24th, 2022. It is very important that we find ways to unify as American citizens. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question, but I want to ask it anyway. Are you gratified by the degree to which citizens are unified around what you do?
Debbie, I'll let you go first.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Of all the divisive issues in our country right now, it's very frustrating. But the fact that everybody supports the Gold Star Mothers, the Gold Star Family Organization, is very gratifying. I think no matter which end of the political spectrum you are on, everybody agrees that the sacrifice that our loved ones made for this country is very important, and that's something that that is very gratifying. It's kind of a rallying around, a cause that everybody can rally around. And I wish we could find other unifying issues like that in the country. But for whatever reason, there's a lot of divisiveness right now. But for sure, we do not feel that in the Gold Star Mother organizations.
Yeah, and yes, and I have to agree 1,000% with Debbie. And something to add on to that, I always hear that just 1% of our nation serve, but I feel like there's so much, and maybe it's just who we surround ourselves with, but I feel like that's so many more that serve, and they may not all sign on the dotted line, but they are very supportive of us. Like the writers that we had out today honoring us and supporting us, and the writers that show up to the funerals or when our loved ones come home, just shows us that we are not alone in this.
As a matter of fact, I think you and I share an opinion and a feeling, and I'll tell you what it is. I am sometimes surprised, but I am always appreciative of young people and how they honor those who have served and those who serve. And I'm just wondering whether or not you might use the word surprise, but certainly how gratified are you when you see young high school students? As a matter of fact, Debbie Austin, Debbie Collins, sometimes elementary school students honoring your sons.
Yeah, well,
go ahead. Debbie,
I was going to say that's very definitely the case with us. When my son, 10 years ago was killed, his grade school, his middle school, his high school all came out and honored him in various ways. There's benches and plaques and flagpoles and things like that at the various different schools. And also we sponsor a scholarship every year, just my husband and I, for the music program at Olathe Northwest High School, where my son went to high school. He was very musical, and music was important to him. So we, again, in an attempt to keep KUAW in the conversation, we developed a scholarship program. And the high school kids that apply for the scholarship, they have to write an essay kind of talking about, what music means to them, why, they talk about service basically. So we have, for the last 10 years, we have granted scholarships to music students that have gone on to then, go to college, and they've used the money to buy laptops and to pay for tuition and whatnot. So every year, those kids at Olathe Northwest High School get a little bit of a taste of who KUAW was. They learn about him during the process of applying for the scholarship, and it's been amazing, the respect and the admiration that he has among these students.
Well, let me just say to you, Debbie Collins, I don't know whether you're going to look at Debbie Austin and say, thank you so much, or what did you get me into? On this particular committee, the VFW Auxiliary, we have something called the Patriot's Pen. That's an essay contest, the voice of democracy. These are things I'm sure you've heard of.
Yes.
But I want desperately to introduce you to our VFW Auxiliary and those programs coming up that involve students. And we might indeed want to engage you in some of what we do, but certainly to support what you are doing with students because that's who we work with. So.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, just
Nice.
give me a buzz later.
Believe me, and I'm very, very serious about that because you can attest to the fact that some of the essays submitted are so sophisticated and so sincere. And when there are those who doubt that they were actually written by the student, then when they recite, then when they present, you realize that America has some great students.
Yes.
And we really need to honor the students who are doing well in what they are supposed to, even as we attempt to help students in need of help.
Absolutely. Yes. I feel very good about this country when I get to talk to the young people.
And as it relates to young people, let's see, Louis George Walker, if this will show up. I think it might.
Yes.
This is a book, Morning Messages. It is simply a message per day for 366 days. And Debbie Austin was kind enough to allow a comment in the introduction of the book, again, because of your involvement with and concern about American students. Please just say a little more. Debbie Collins did say it about how you feel about American students today.
Well, I think Debbie Collins' grandkids were here today. That's Kel's niece and nephew. And with my grandkids, which is Shane's niece and nephews, we teach them to know their uncles. And that's kind of what it's up to us to let our grandkids know what their uncle's legacy was like. So that's a passion of mine. And my grandkids love to talk about their Uncle Shane. They love to learn about him, and they love to go to school, especially around Memorial Day and Veterans Day, and talk to their schools about what their uncle did and the history of their family. And I think that's important too.
As many occasions as we experience, when it involves young people, we would certainly like to promote it. We would like to talk about it, sometimes interviews. So any of those things like that you hear about or indeed sponsor, please let us know, because we want all of our listeners, all 7 of them, to hear about those kinds of things.
Well, I would, now with that said, and I'm not sure if, because I have just recently found this out. I'm not sure if Debbie knows this yet, but I do what's called, she knows I do Remembering Our Fallen of Kansas, that honors those that died in Iraq and Afghanistan, that called Kansas home. But then since then, Patriotic Productions have put together what's called the Traveling Tribute Towers, that honors all those that died in Iraq and Afghanistan war, no matter how they died, if it was by PTSD or an accident or on the battlefield, they are all honored on that. But it will be coming to Union Station for celebration at the station. We are going to have it there. So in next May, Memorial Day, it will be there. So, more details to come, and we're just kind of wrapping it all the details up. But yes, and that would it has the faces of all those fallen and a little bit of information. And that's a great place to take students to learn about our freedom is not free. And it's, they're no longer here with us, and they've left the family behind.
I don't know if you know Michael House, but he is one of the vice presidents at the World War I Memorial.
Yes.
Absolutely. And calls on us to apprise him of all things that are happening, and they are so receptive. That's another thing for those who are educators who are having the privilege this afternoon of getting to know Debbie Austin and Debbie Collins, that there's VFW headquarters here. There is World War I Memorial here. You have Leavenworth In our vicinity, there are so many opportunities to honor those who are serving and have served, that our children are not lacking for
No,
opportunities to be motivated in that way.
no, absolutely not. But there's a lot that you can learn from, and ask any family, like Debbie said, and just ask about our boys. That's the way they keep their legacy alive. We're all willing to share.
And that makes so much difference. I know that I have already kept you a lot longer than you had intended probably to be with me. You don't know how much I appreciate this. But each time that I have the opportunity to be with Debbie Austin, I get an opportunity to mention my wife, wonderful Wanda,
Yes.
because her father, Lee Clark, is indeed buried in Leavenworth. Please talk just a little bit about how families should become involved with wreaths across America.
Well, that's, you can go to the website Wreaths Across America, and we will be laying a wreath for your father-in-law this year, December 17th.
It's such an honor.
And there's so many ways that you can become involved in it. And you can go to the website, you can pick out a location. Our local locations is Fort Leavenworth and Leavenworth. But you can sponsor a wreath, or you can go on to either one of the Facebook pages and share it, just to get awareness out. You can sponsor a wreath, but we are always in need of not the sponsorships of the wreath, not just the sponsorship, but to come out and lay a wreath and say their name. Again, that's that for the students to remember and teach. Just teach how to honor. Just lay the wreath, say their name, take a photo, and Google it. And then not only do we need help laying the wreaths, but we usually need help when it comes time to pick the wreaths up. It's usually in January, and that could be weather depending on the exact date.
Wow, that is just absolutely exciting, and what an opportunity. I want to make sure that I don't leave out something that you might have wanted to say that I do not have a question for, but just in terms of things going on or things on your mind, what are some of the things you would want our listener viewers to know?
Well, for me, I just like to say that, as I said earlier, we don't want your sympathy, just your support. And the grief does not get easier. The grief never will go away, nor do we want it to go away, because the minute it goes away, that means that our loved one's forgotten. But I do think that we become stronger in this journey, stronger with the support and fellow Gold Star family members. So just be a good American.
Yes. Debbie Collins, please, anything that...
Well, I can't think of much that I haven't already said, but like Debbie said, we're very proud of our sons who, gave the ultimate sacrifice for this country, and we love to talk about them. So please, if you run across a Gold Star mother, father, sibling, whatever, please ask about their loved one, because that is the best way that they can continue to be remembered out there. When people stop talking about Cale and Shane and Matthew and all the others that have gone before them, that's when when the second death happens, and we don't want that. So please never feel awkward about asking about their loved ones, because we truly do love to talk about them.
That is so important and so greatly appreciated. Louis George Walker and I can certainly say how privileged we are and appreciative. And as a matter of fact, I don't have to speak for you, Brother Walker. If there's anything that you would like to say to Debbie Austin and Debbie Collins before we let them go.
Well, thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You are more than welcome. And as Debbie Austin knows, and as I have challenged Debbie Collins, you will be hearing from us soon and often.
Okay.
And
I
by
will
the
count
way,
on that.
thank you so very, very much. I'm going to do this sooner rather than later. I generally end the program with one of the morning messages with which Debbie Allen is now familiar. Today is September 24th, and Debbie Collins let me say how these are written and how I recite them when I say them audibly. To students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots message for this day, September 24th. Troops marching in formation march with great precision. Students march at graduation because they made a great decision. This is the morning message, and it's 366 to account for leap year. But there are lessons such as, I cannot look in a hero's eyes and be a student who never tries. Or I shall never walk so tall as a wounded warrior who can't walk at all. And these messages are dedicated to your sons and to this country, as we are blessed with the Debbies of the world pulling us together. So we thank you so very, very much, and we will be calling upon you again soon. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, George. Thank you.
You are more than welcome. What a delightful day, and to take us to the site, outstanding.
All right. I'll send photos too. So
please do. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Outstanding.
Until next time.
Until next time. Wave your grades. This is KUAW.org having an opportunity on this occasion today to speak with Debbie Austin and Debbie Collins, Gold Star mothers. You hear the term Gold Star moms. The family is included, and we are certainly honored to have this caliber of guest on Wave Your Grades. Louis George Walker, I will talk a little bit in a commercial vein before we sign off formally. We have a few minutes, but we are gratified that we have had the Double D Delight today with Debbie Austin and Debbie Collins. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you
so very much.
Thank you. Goodbye. Bye. Thanks.
On our program, the DFW Auxiliary will be talking to our young people about our essay contests. And now we're going to be talking about the essay contest that is personal for Debbie Collins. So this is just great. This is such an honor, such an opportunity. And what we might do, Louis Walker, and by the way, I think it will be perhaps the first Saturday in October, certainly not later than the second Saturday in October, a press conference on the announcement of the year for academic patriotism. So we'll be talking about that as well as the activity. Yes, sir.
No, I was going to say that'd be great, but that was a great show. I do appreciate you having the two guests that you had. It was really good.
Oh man, thank you so very, very much. And I did not realize that we would be on location. That was nice of her to do that and to do it as efficiently as she did, because technology doesn't always allow for that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that worked very well.
So what do you say you got coming up?
We on the possibly the first Saturday in October, and let me tell you why I'm hesitating. I am prayerful that we will be able to speak with Valencia Broadus. We have lost contact for a minute. The first Saturday is ordinarily the Smart Club's program, the opportunity for those young people. And if that is so, I want to honor that. But for the recent two first Saturdays, we have not done that. And we want to announce the Year of Academic Patriotism as an opportunity to unite the nation through education. Now, what we're talking about here is our young people who are attending school every day should have the opportunity to study and honor those who serve and have served in a way that unites us. Debbie Collins, and of course Debbie Collins and Debbie Austin and I were talking about the fact that our nation is in need of some uniting.
Yes.
I always say, and you've heard me say it before, and I'll continue to say, that there are two things upon which we ought to agree. One, just hearing from our guest today reinforces this particular agreement. We should honor those who serve and have served. That's one thing I think that if you call yourself an American, you ought to be able to agree on.
Yes.
Number two, our children are not yet old enough to serve. Our children should be protected. And one of the ways that they ought to be protected is to be able to go to school, to study, and to learn. So if that is so, if those two things are things upon which we can agree, maybe we can take steps towards uniting the nation through education, meaning let's all agree that we need to protect our children's right to an education, and let's all agree that those who serve should never come home to communities more violent than where they serve when they're deployed overseas.
Amen to that.
I think we've just got to do that, and we want to not just make that statement, but also, as we did in 2014 at Ruskin High School, hand out T-shirts for our young people with the academic patriotism logo and that saying, because of your sacrifice to defend our nation, we're serious about education. And then in handing those T-shirts to the young people and making the announcement, we are suggesting that this ought to be the year for academic patriotism, where every time we see those two images, those who serve and our children, we ought to be able to say, we're all with that. So.
Oh yeah, I would agree.
That's what that will be about. It is unfortunate, and that's putting it mildly, that we are as divisive as we have become. But what is most disconcerting is, Brother Walker, it's not just divisiveness, it's hatred.
Yeah, there's some anger out there.
There's some real anger out there. So how can we, every Saturday, attempt to make a positive difference? Look at the caliber of guests that we have. And if we can do that every Saturday, that's a step.
Absolutely. I would agree.
So that's what that will be about. And it will be as long as we will be on. I don't know if there's something coming up or some reason for not having the program. But if indeed it is appropriately available to us on the first Saturday in October, or perhaps at this point, since we're so close, probably the second Saturday, we will have the announcement, the year of
Okay.
active patriotism. So,
The year of.
yes, indeed.
All right. So this is going to be a short-term thing.
And see, what will happen is that means that it will be reinforced every Saturday.
Yes. Yeah, that could be a part of the beginning of a show or somewhere in there.
Good point. Good point. As a matter of fact, let's, if you don't mind, try to make that happen next week. So it'll be on the opening and or the close. So I agree with you. I appreciate you recommending that.
All right, yeah.
So I'm going to close a little early.
That's all right.
Had some stellar guests. We have some great folks coming up. We hope that those who missed it will get the opportunity and seize the opportunity to look at it later, because I'm going to be recommending it to some people. And a profound thank you to you for making this available to us.
No problem. And I'd like to remind everyone that there are more good listening shows coming on this afternoon. I want to remind you to stay tuned for Rogine Bailey, who brings Blues Time in the City. So you've been a Chicago guy, you know something about the blues. So
a little bit about that. You know what? Now you might
Chess
smile.
Records and all of that stuff there.
Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, when you saw Cadillac Records and the movie and all of that,
Right.
they only talked about one of the Chess brothers. There were two brothers. There wasn't just
Okay.
one. So that's another story. But when you said knowing some blues folks in Chicago,
Yes.
in 1955, I was a patrol boy and I was on my post on 37th Street in Chicago. No, it wasn't. It was 38th Street in Chicago. And this gentleman came up and I was playing my little harmonica. I think my harmonica cost about 55 cents, man. That
Ooh,
was
man, a lot of money.
That was a lot of money. And this gentleman came up and snatched it from me and put his mouth on my harmonica. He started playing. Now, he knew how to play it, but I looked at my friend, James Edwards, and I said, man, this dude, and James Edwards' eyes got kind of big. I said, man, he's messing with my harmonica. He said, you know who that is? I said, he got my harmonica. He said, that's Muddy Waters. So, Muddy Waters played my harmonica.
Played your harmonica and stuff. Oh, man, I tell you, that's
on
something.
38th Street in Chicago. So,
While you're standing on safety patrol, huh?
yes, indeed. And I just
Okay.
took out my harmonica after the kids across the street and we're getting ready to go in. So, man, as a matter of fact, I need to do just a show on those years. At the time that my post was on 38th and Prairie, Mahalia Jackson lived at 3722 Prairie.
Oh, my goodness.
And
Man.
she used to come outside and speak to the little kids. Hello there. And she was just such a nice lady. And we thought she might even be kind of popular because she could really sing these gospel songs. Maybe somebody knows who she is.
She might be popular, huh?
This Mahalia. That's right.
Y'all recognize she might be pretty good, huh?
Because we knew she could sing, but
okay.
but you mentioned blues. See, we were looking at blues and rhythm and blues and all of that.
Absolutely.
And the gospel singers, we knew they could really sing, but they weren't the most popular in our little clique.
No, not when you're listening to rock and roll. So that's what we want people to do, because those are the stories, and that's the things that you pick up here at KUAW Radio, because those were older people that to a youngster is like, I don't really know who they are. You mentioned that standing on safety patrol, and I was doing the same thing at DA Home School.
There you go.
And a guy come up in a nice car and stuff, go in, and the building was a buzz, and I'm thinking, well, who is it? They said, well, that's Earl Garner.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, he was actually dating one of the teachers at the school. And he came up to the school, but being what, fifth grader or something like that and stuff, he wasn't playing like Chuck Berry or like the Twist or something. I'm like, who's Earl Garner?
Well, you know what? That's funny that you said that, because recently someone was talking about Maurice White. And when he was before Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Okay, with Ramsey
White
Lewis.
was playing drums with Ramsey Lewis.
Yes.
It was funny to us when Maurice White started wearing psychedelic outfits and coming down from being projected to this music with Earth, Wind, and Fire. And it turned out that they did it excellently.
Yes, yes.
But it was just funny to see him out of his conservative blazer and tie. And see him
those are changes. But appreciate the show today. Everyone, while you're listening to us reminiscing, just keep tuning in to KUAW Radio. This is Kansas City's global community radio station. Yes, you're at home. So it's just like sitting around in the living room or down at the barbershop. KUAW Radio, your global community radio station. And we want to thank Callboy and Wave Your Grades for making this such a great Saturday. Thank you, Carl.
Gracious God and wonderful Wanda. On my way home.
Okay, we're out. Thank you, sir. All right, it was a good show. It's a good show. Yeah, man, I tell you, God is good. I was thinking, I said, well, I don't know if we're going to have robotics. We're trying to start back up after 2 years. And last week, it was like nobody showed up and stuff. And turned around today, and I probably had 15 kids in there. Oh, really? Yeah. I said, oh, okay, they still interested. Sometimes you say, well, yeah, we were starting last week, but we didn't get nobody to show up. But looked around this week, and I'd sent out some flyers, and, mothers were coming up here bringing the kids. And I told them, I said, well, now, in the one age group, the elementary, we can't have but 10 because we got a new coach, and we don't want to overload her. So we may have an overabundance all of a sudden. That is a good problem and stuff. So the only thing I can kick myself about is I didn't take a picture of all of them standing in the room together. I just went up and got my camera, and I thought, doggone it, I was too busy explaining stuff to them and getting the parents together on what's going to happen and how we're going to do it and all that. I didn't get a picture of the whole group. So, yeah, they'll be back because that's going to be their actual first Saturday of building. I only kept them in there about 30 minutes because... Yeah, we'll definitely get them together with it there. Then had one young lady, I said, well, you want to, did you come in for robotics? She said, no. She said, they signed me up. I said, your parents? She said, yeah. He said, she got me in math and reading and this robotics. I said, well, I tell you now, I don't want you if you don't want to be in here, but I said, you can come up and check it out. And listen, but now, we don't want no trouble. But she came up and she seemed to be a little bit interested, and she stood there, because she definitely, you could tell that parents saying, yeah, you going somewhere on Saturday to get. But that's great. I'll bet she'll become one of the top participants. Yeah, I got a feeling it's that because, her mother, I found her mother was working down on the door when they left. And I'm like, okay, yeah, she's okay. I see why, you got her here and she need to be here. So, yeah, that was the same thing Judge John Gray told me. He said he had his son coming up here, up to Du Bois years ago. And he said, well, he didn't want to come up and stuff. He said, well, till you get some grades that say you don't need to go up, you don't have to come up. And he said W.E.B. Du Bois helped him out, and he got good in his math and didn't mind going on Saturday mornings, and it was all, a good thing. But he said, yeah, he didn't want to go at first. He said, but I told him, you gonna go.